For as long as I can remember, I dreamt of being a renowned writer. Every night, I would fall asleep with visions of my stories touching the hearts of readers around the world. But the reality was far more brutal. My manuscripts were sent back with impersonal rejection letters, or, worse, were completely ignored. It was as if I was screaming into a void, my voice lost in the vast expanse of the literary world. Mark, my best friend since college and fellow aspiring writer, always knew how to lift my spirits. One rainy afternoon at our favorite coffee shop, he leaned over the table, his eyes gleaming with determination. "Lucy, you can't give up. Your stories are incredible. It's just a matter of time before someone recognizes your talent." I sighed, pushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "I appreciate your faith in me, Mark. But how many more rejections can I take? It feels like I'm wasting my time." Sarah, my agent, was another beacon of hope. She was relentless, never taking no for an answer. She believed in me more than I believed in myself sometimes. "Lucy," she said during one of our countless phone calls, "I'm not stopping until I find someone who sees what I see in your work. The Echo of Silence is brilliant, and it deserves to be shared with the world." Months turned into years, and my inbox filled with rejection emails. Despite Sarah's unyielding efforts, the doors of the publishing world remained firmly shut. Until one day, everything changed. "Lucy, you won't believe this." Sarah's voice was electric with excitement when she called me. "James Carter, the independent film director, read The Echo of Silence, and he loves it. He wants to adapt it into a film." I was stunned. "Wait, what? James Carter? The James Carter?" My heart raced as I tried to process the news. "Yes. He sees something special in your story and wants to bring it to the big screen," Sarah confirmed. This could be the break we've been waiting for. Meeting James was surreal. He was enigmatic, with a quiet intensity that made you feel like he could see right through you. Sitting across from him in a dimly lit cafe, I felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Lucy," James began, his voice calm and measured, "your story resonates with me on a deep level. The themes of silence, the unspoken pain, it's powerful. I want to stay true to your vision while adapting it for the screen." "Thank you, James," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "It means a lot that you see the value in my work." As the weeks passed, I watched in awe as my story transformed into a screenplay. James included me in the process, valuing my input and ensuring the film stayed true to the essence of my narrative. It was a whirlwind of emotions, hope, disbelief, and a lingering sense of doubt. What if the film didn't live up to expectations? What if this opportunity slipped through my fingers like so many others? Mark was my rock during this turbulent time. One evening, as we sat in my cramped apartment surrounded by stacks of books and unfinished manuscripts, he gave me a reassuring smile. "Lucy, no matter what happens, you've achieved something incredible. You've created a story that touched someone enough to make a film out of it. That's huge." I nodded, trying to absorb his words. "I know, Mark. It's just hard to believe it's real. After all the rejection, it's difficult to fully embrace this moment." The anticipation built as the film neared its release. I was on the edge of my seat, a cocktail of hope and skepticism bubbling within me. The night of the premiere, I clutched Mark's hand tightly as we watched The Echo of Silence unfold on the screen. Seeing my characters come to life, hearing the dialogue I had written, was an indescribable experience. As the credits rolled and the audience erupted in applause, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the turning point I had been waiting for. Little did I know, this was only the beginning. When The Echo of Silences was released, I could hardly believe the whirlwind that followed. The film received critical acclaim, and suddenly, my name was on everyone's lips. The very same day, Sarah called me, her voice trembling with excitement. "Lucy, you won't believe this. The film is nominated for several awards, including Best Picture at Sundance." My heart raced. I had been so close to giving up, and now it seemed like all my dreams were coming true overnight. Are you serious, Sarah? This is incredible! I exclaimed, barely able to contain my joy. Yes, Lucy, it's happening. You need to prepare yourself for a lot of attention. This film is going to change everything for you, she assured me. In the weeks that followed, my life transformed in ways I had only fantasized about. I was invited to interviews with renowned magazines and television shows. I attended literary events where people actually knew my name and wanted to hear my story. It felt surreal. Sarah became indispensable, managing my appearances and negotiations with a laser-focused precision. She was a rock, guiding me through this new terrain. One afternoon, I met Mark for coffee. He had always been my biggest supporter, but I could sense a subtle change in his demeanor. Mark, can you believe all this? It's like a dream, I said, trying to bridge the gap I felt growing between us. It's amazing, Lucy. Truly. I'm so happy for you, he replied, though his eyes betrayed a hint of envy. But, it's hard not to wonder when it will be my turn. I reached out and squeezed his hand. Your time will come, Mark. You're a brilliant writer, and you'll get your break. I know it. As we continued to talk, I could see the internal struggle he was facing. He was genuinely happy for me, but his own frustrations were becoming harder to mask. I promised myself I wouldn't let success come between us. Then came the invitation to the Sundance Film Festival. The film was nominated for the grand prize, and excitement and nerves battled within me. Sarah, what if we don't win? What if this is all just a fleeting moment? I voiced my anxieties to her one evening. Lucy, even being nominated is a huge honor. And no matter what happens, you've already achieved so much, she reassured me. But I have a good feeling about this. The festival was a blur of flashing cameras, handshakes, and congratulatory words. I was on edge, waiting for the announcement. During a quiet moment, James, the enigmatic director of the film, approached me. Lucy, how are you holding up? He asked, his eyes searching mine. Nervous, to be honest, I admitted. It's overwhelming. He smiled softly. You've earned this, Lucy. Your story touched so many people, and that's what matters. Whatever happens tonight, remember that. The moment finally came. The hall fell silent as the presenter opened the envelope. And the award for Best Picture goes to... The echo of silences. The room erupted in applause, and I felt tears welling up in my eyes. James hugged me tightly, and Sarah was beaming with pride. That night was a whirlwind celebration. I was interviewed by countless journalists, each one eager to know more about the story behind the film. How does it feel to have your work recognized in such a big way? One reporter asked. It's surreal, I replied. I've dreamed of this moment for so long, and now that it's here, I just want to savor every second. Amidst the joy, I noticed Mark standing alone, a bittersweet smile on his face. I walked over to him, feeling a pang of guilt. Mark, thank you for always believing in me. I couldn't have done this without your support. He nodded, his eyes glistening. I'm proud of you, Lucy. Truly. Just don't forget about the rest of us little people, he said, half-jokingly. I could never forget you, I assured him, hugging him tightly. As the night wore on, I realized that this was just the beginning. There would be challenges and hurdles ahead, but for now, I allowed myself to bask in the success I had worked so hard to achieve. When I arrived at the Sundance Film Festival, I was a bundle of nerves and anticipation. The Echo of Silences had been nominated for Best Film, and the buzz around it was electric. As I walked the red carpet, flanked by Sarah and James, I couldn't help but feel a surreal sense of accomplishment. For years, I had been ignored, my work dismissed, and now here I was, standing on the threshold of recognition. The night of the awards ceremony was a blur of flashing cameras, echoing applause, and whispered conversations. When The Echo of Silences was announced as the winner of Best Film, I felt a wave of emotions crash over me: relief, joy, and an overwhelming sense of validation. As James and I walked up to accept the award, I could barely hear his speech over the pounding of my heart. After the ceremony, we attended an after-party that was teeming with industry insiders, journalists, and fellow filmmakers. I caught sight of Mark standing in a corner, nursing a drink. He had always been my biggest supporter, but lately, I had sensed a growing distance between us. I walked over to him, hoping to bridge the gap. "Mark, can you believe it? We did it!" I exclaimed, my face flushed with excitement. He gave me a tight smile. "You did it, Lucy. I'm really happy for you." Something in his tone made me pause. "What's going on? You've been acting strange lately." Mark sighed, looking away. "It's just, watching you succeed while I'm still struggling, it's harder than I thought it would be." I placed a hand on his arm, trying to convey my sincerity. "Your time will come, Mark. I believe in you." He nodded, but the tension between us remained palpable. As the days passed, the challenges of my newfound fame began to surface. Sarah, my dedicated agent, started showing signs of strain. Her personal life was unraveling, and it was affecting her ability to manage my burgeoning career. One afternoon, we were in her office going over scheduling conflicts when she broke down in tears. "I'm so sorry, Lucy. I'm trying my best, but everything is falling apart," she confessed, wiping her eyes with a trembling hand. I reached across the desk to hold her hand. "Sarah, you've done so much for me. We'll get through this together." But the most shocking development came from James. Just as I was beginning to navigate the complexities of my success, news broke of a scandal involving him. Accusations of misconduct and ethical breaches started circulating, and the reputation of The Echo of Silences was suddenly at risk. I confronted James in a quiet corner of a crowded cafe, the noise around us a stark contrast to the gravity of our conversation. "James, what the hell is going on?" "These accusations, they're serious," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked haggard, his usual confidence replaced by a haunted look. "It's all blown out of proportion, Lucy. Trust me, it's going to blow over." But it didn't blow over. The scandal grew, casting a shadow over the film and, by extension, over me. I found myself ensnared in a web of media scrutiny and public judgment. The very success that had seemed like a dream come true was now a source of stress and uncertainty. Then came the final blow. One of the publishers who had rejected me in the past expressed interest in my new book. It should have been a moment of triumph, but something felt off. During a meeting with the publisher, I discovered that they were only interested because of the film's success, not my writing. It was a bitter pill to swallow. As I sat alone in my apartment that night, staring at the city lights, I realized that success had its own set of challenges. The recognition I had craved for so long was now a double-edged sword, bringing with it complications I hadn't anticipated. But despite the setbacks, I knew I couldn't give up. My journey was far from over, and I was determined to navigate these turbulent waters with the same resilience that had brought me this far. As I sat at my desk, working on my new book, a sense of unease settled over me. Something wasn't right. Ever since The Echo of Silences had catapulted me into the limelight, I had been plagued by an incessant feeling that something sinister was lurking beneath the surface. Then, one evening, as I was sorting through some old notes and drafts, I found something that confirmed my worst fears. There, in the margins of an old manuscript, were handwritten notes that weren't mine. The phrasing, the ideas, they were too familiar, too close to the final script of the film. My heart raced as I realized what I was looking at: evidence of plagiarism. James, the director who had brought my story to the big screen, had stolen parts of the script from an unknown writer. I couldn't believe it. James had always seemed so passionate, so genuine. How could he have done this? I knew I had to confront him, but I was terrified. What if he denied everything? What if he destroyed my burgeoning career in retaliation? I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I needed to know the truth. The next day, I arranged to meet James at a quiet cafe in downtown Portland. As I waited for him to arrive, my mind raced with possible scenarios. When he finally walked in, his usual confident demeanor seemed less assured. "Hey, Lucy. What's up? You sounded urgent over the phone," he said, taking a seat opposite me. I took a deep breath. "James, I found something disturbing. I need to ask you, did you plagiarize parts of the script for The Echo of Silences?" His face hardened. "What are you talking about? That's ridiculous." I slid the manuscript across the table. "These notes, they're not mine. But they match the final script almost exactly." "Who wrote them, James?" He glanced at the papers and then back at me, his eyes narrowing. "Look, Lucy, you're new to this industry. Sometimes, certain compromises have to be made to get things done. But accusing me of plagiarism? That's a serious claim." "Because it's a serious offense," I retorted, my voice shaking with emotion. "I trusted you, James. If you don't come clean, I'll have no choice but to expose this." His expression turned cold. "If you do that, I'll make sure you never work in this town again. Think about it, Lucy. Is this really the hill you want to die on?" Shaken, I left the cafe, my mind in turmoil. How could I fight someone with so much power? That evening, I got a call from Mark. We hadn't spoken much since my rise to fame, and there was a tension between us that had never been there before. "Hey, Lucy. I heard about the Sundance win." "Congratulations," he said, his tone neutral. "Thanks, Mark. But there's something I need to tell you. I think James plagiarized parts of the script. I don't know what to do." There was a long pause. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes. I have proof. But he's threatening to ruin my career if I go public." "Lucy," he sighed, "this is serious. You can't let him get away with it. I'll help you. We can figure this out together." The next few days were a whirlwind. Mark and I pored over every piece of evidence, and he even managed to track down the original writer whose work had been stolen. When we confronted Sarah, she was initially shocked but quickly rallied to our cause. "We need to do this the right way," she said, her resolve firm. "I'll contact some journalists I trust. We need to make sure the story is airtight before it goes public." The tension was palpable as we prepared for the revelation. We knew the risks, but we also knew that the truth had to come out. On the day of the press conference, my heart pounded in my chest as I stepped up to the podium. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady despite my nerves. "I have something important to share. The Echo of Silences was a collaborative effort, but parts of the script were plagiarized from an unpublished writer. This is the evidence." The room erupted in questions and flashes of cameras. James was quickly discredited, his career in shambles. The fallout was massive, but it also brought a sense of relief. The truth was out, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. In the aftermath, I discovered something even more shocking. Sarah had known about the plagiarism from the start. She had hoped the success would justify the means. Feeling betrayed, I confronted her. "How could you, Sarah? You knew and still went along with it?" "I thought it was the only way to get you noticed," she admitted, tears in her eyes. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Despite everything, I continued my journey, stronger and more determined. My new book was published and became a bestseller, solidifying my place in the literary world. Mark and I reconciled, and together, we looked to the future with renewed confidence. The experience taught me that integrity and truth are worth more than any immediate success. It was a hard lesson, but one that reinforced my belief in the power of honesty and the strength of true friendship. The night of the big revelation had arrived. My heart raced as I stood backstage, awaiting the moment when we would expose James for the fraud he was. Mark and Sarah were with me, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and anxiety. "Are you ready for this?" Mark asked, his voice steady but his eyes betraying his concern. I nodded, trying to muster all the courage I had. "We have to do this. The truth needs to come out." Sarah, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. "No matter what happens, just remember why we're doing this. It's about integrity." I glanced at her, catching an odd tone in her voice, but I brushed it off as nerves. We had been through so much together, and I trusted her implicitly. The lights dimmed, and the host of the event took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement tonight. Please welcome Lucy, the talented writer behind The Echo of Silences." Taking a deep breath, I walked onto the stage, feeling the weight of the audience's eyes on me. I could see James in the crowd, his smug smile making my blood boil. Little did he know that his facade was about to crumble. "Thank you," I began, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "I'm here tonight to share something important. The Echo of Silences has been a journey of passion and dedication, but there's a truth that needs to be revealed." I paused, feeling the tension in the room rise. James, the director of the film, plagiarized parts of the script from another writer. This is not just about me, it's about giving credit where it's due and standing up for what's right. Gasps and murmurs filled the room as I continued. With the help of my friends, Mark and Sarah, we have gathered irrefutable evidence of this plagiarism. Tonight, we're setting the record straight. Mark joined me on stage, holding up documents that proved our claims. "This is the work of a talented writer who deserves recognition," he said, his voice firm. James took advantage of Lucy's story and someone else's hard work. The room erupted in chaos. Reporters swarmed, and James attempted to leave, but security stopped him. The truth was out, and there was no escaping it. Backstage, as the dust began to settle, I turned to Sarah. "We did it. We exposed the truth." But Sarah's expression was distant. "Lucy, there's something I need to tell you." A chill ran down my spine. "What is it?" She took a deep breath, her eyes filled with regret. "I knew about the plagiarism from the beginning. I thought if we could just push through, it would secure your success. I never meant for it to go this far." I felt as if the ground had been pulled out from under me. "You knew? And you still let it happen?" "I'm so sorry, Lucy," Sarah whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "I thought I was protecting you, but I see now that I was wrong." Anger and betrayal surged through me. "How could you do this? I trusted you." Mark stepped in, placing a calming hand on my shoulder. "Lucy, let's not lose sight of what we've achieved tonight. We exposed the truth. That's what matters." I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. "Sarah, I need time to think. Right now, I can't have you in my life." She nodded, her face crumbling. "I understand. I'll step away and deal with my own issues. But please know, I never wanted to hurt you." As she walked away, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. Mark turned to me, a supportive smile on his face. "You've got this, Lucy. You're stronger than you know." In the weeks that followed, the story of the plagiarism scandal took the media by storm. James was blacklisted from the industry, and the original writer received the recognition they deserved. Despite the turmoil, I focused on my work. My new book was published and quickly became a bestseller, solidifying my place in the literary world. One evening, as Mark and I sat in my living room, discussing future projects, I felt a sense of peace. You know, despite everything, I'm grateful for this journey. It's taught me that truth and integrity are worth more than any success. Mark nodded, raising his glass. To the future, and to facing it with renewed confidence. We clinked our glasses, ready to take on whatever came next. Together, we would continue to write our stories, grounded in the lessons we had learned and the strength we had found within ourselves.